मुझे नहीं पता। लगा तो रहे हैं रोज़ वैसे। So should we start? Yes. So today's newspaper, anything? Okay, the 2 pages only advertisements. Bihar elections. Okay, something on the first page. What do you find on the first page that seems quite important? Yes, ma'am. What's important? There's only one news that seems little important, otherwise nothing special as such. Just use your common sense to sense what is important. No idea. So we have this first news related to trade deficit. So the article talks about services export cut India's trade deficit by 9.4% something. First of all, what is trade deficit? Any idea? If you are importing more, exporting less, that leads to trade deficit. What if there is export more and less import? Trade surplus. So when we are doing any kind of trade with other countries, because we will have to do that trade, we are not so self-sufficient to manage all our resources on our own. We need other resources from other countries also. So now what happens is, when this trade takes place, most of the time this is happening since many years. We observe that our export to other countries, it is relatively less as compared to what we are getting from other countries, that is the import part, right? And most of the time this import includes many commodities like this oil, natural gas. We spend a lot of money on that part. Although we export also petroleum products. We have some petroleum refineries. We bring this crude oil, we go for this refining process, we make the end products, and then we sell it to the other parts of the world. So that's part of our export also. But overall, what we see is trade deficit. Okay. Now, here they are saying this trade deficit has got reduced, and this has happened because of services sector export. Okay. So when we are selling, when we are exporting, something we have called as this merchandise export. That means when we are selling some kind of goods, let's say we are making mobile phones and we are exporting it to other countries. That's part of this merchandise export. Other one is services. Let's say the software industry that we have. So that software industry who is selling some kind of software, or they're providing some kind of service. Let's say customer service. Okay, in India we will observe this business process units or customer service. Company is in UK, but their customer service support will be provided from India, let's say from Hyderabad or Pune. So what they are providing is service. Okay. Now, what this article specifically shows, look at the data. First of all, look at the export and import data. They are comparing the Q1, or what we call as Q1 of 2014 with this 2025. Q1 means the first 3 months of the financial year. Financial year starts with which month? April. So April, May, June, this is the time frame we will take. So 2024 April to June, and we will compare it with April to June of 2025. So export somewhere around 198 billion US dollars. That has increased. Okay, that has increased. Import has also increased. And overall, if we check the trade deficit, import minus export, So it was $22.42 billion and then it has become 20. So trade deficit got reduced. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing, trade deficit is getting reduced. That's a nice thing because we have to pay for these extra, this 22 or this 20 billion US dollars. We have to bring that money from somewhere, right? Because from export, whatever we got, we already spent over here, right? Now, interesting thing is export has also increased and import has also increased. This you need to focus on, that both things are increasing. Overall, it's good. Our trade, the size of our trade is increasing. That's a good thing. Now, look at our top partners when it comes to export or import. When it comes to export, which country we are sending most of our goods and services? So number one is United States of America. That means maximum money India is earning from USA. Then we have UAE, Netherlands, China and UK. Just understand that these are the countries whom we are sending most of our products. Okay. Now look at the trend with respect to import. From which countries we are getting maximum of our goods and services? Number one is China. Now this shows India's dependence. Understand, when it comes to export, when it comes to earning money, we are dependent on the USA. We don't want USA to go away. So whenever USA says we'll put tariffs and all, we are concerned about this thing. When there will be more tariffs, our exports will get affected. We will earn less amount of money. So we are concerned. And look at China. If there will be a war with China, our imports will get affected directly. Are you getting this point? So, and this import has increased from 16% by 16%. Now, UAE, Russia, USA, Iraq. These are also the countries from where we are importing. Okay, so just have this idea about the countries which seem to be important from trade perspective. This is just for understanding purpose. Okay, no need to remember all these data because this is very micro data we can say. Now, export increasing, import increasing, we said this thing, and we are saying the trade deficit which has got reduced, the role of service sector is important. So you have observed one thing, that India's service sector is performing really well. This is something we are observing. In the entire export, we expect that our trade of exports, when it comes to exports, it should be goods which should be more in number, or this merchandise export, that should be more in number. What that will show? That we will have good manufacturing sector in India. If we have good manufacturing sector, we will produce more goods and we will export it in the market. But that is not the real case. Our manufacturing is not that great, but our service sector is doing really well. So we see continuous rise in the numbers when it comes to exports from service sector. So somewhere we can say service sector is actually saving India's economy to some extent. Otherwise, we were nothing. Okay? Any doubt? This is the basic idea this article is trying to give you. Just understand the trend. Okay, such articles will be very common. You just need to sense the trend. What is the trend? If I ask you, import is increasing, yes or no? Yes. Export is increasing, yes or no? Yes. Trade deficit is decreasing? Yes. You got the trend. Okay? Now, next article from your editorial page. The issue with criminalizing all adolescent relationships. Now, this article specifically focuses on something called as POCSO Act. Any idea about this POCSO? Yes, this Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which was brought in the year 2012. So any person going ahead with any sexual activity with any minor, we're using this term minor. And when we say minor, we're talking about people who are 18 minus, below the age of 18. So when you're going ahead with any such sexual activity against such a person, in that case, you will be getting punishment under this POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. Okay. Now comes an interesting problem. What happens is, sometimes there are some relationships wherein a minor is involved. Let's say, for example, this recent case in which there was a girl whose age was 17 years, okay, and the boy, his age was somewhere around 23. Now the problem is, the relationship they had was a consensual relationship. That means the consent of both sides was there, right? So in this case, we can't call it that, like, even if there is sexual activities involved, the consent was involved. But the problem is, if you look at the provisions of this POCSO Act, for this POCSO Act, even if it was consensual, they will still call it as a crime. So this act does not distinguish between exploitative abuse and consensual relationships. Whether you are exploiting this minor person or if it was mutually or consensually done relationship, they don't distinguish. They say both things are same. Minor is involved, done. It's a crime. That's a problem. Now it becomes problem especially when family members are involved. What family members try to do, they try to make use of such acts or such legal provisions to file a case against that person. Even if it was a consensual relationship, still this person faces legal trial under this case. And most of the time what happens, the case is registered because of pressure of the family members. The case is registered by the girl. The girl even gives some kind of, let's say, she will say that yes, it was under pressure and all. She will file the case, but when it comes to the case getting into the trial room, in the courtrooms, then later on people get to know that no, her consent was involved. So this happens. This is very normal in such cases. Now the point is, here Supreme Court is specifically saying that because of this provision, because this distinction is not made, this leads to misuse of this act, and we are somehow making our youth criminal when they are not even criminals as such. Okay, the act is leading to a wrong thing. The act was brought in with a very good intent. The intention was really good, to ensure that there should not be any kind of physical abuse or exploitative abuse of any minor. So the intention was really good, but the act is being used for a wrong reason. This has been particularly observed. Now look at this data in this NCPCR report. 45% of the POCSO cases involved romantic relationships. That's what they are terming it. So around 50% we can say. 50% of the cases are wherein this mutual consent was there. Okay, so this is something being highlighted. Now what court has done right now, they said this is wrong. Now the problem is, when court has to give any judgment, court has to rely on constitution and the laws that are present. Now for the court, this POCSO law is in front of them. They look at the provisions and they are understanding that the provisions are going against the idea of justice. The provisions are made for the justice, but in these cases, these provisions are going against the idea of justice. Are you getting this point? So what judiciary can do in this case? Can judiciary go against what the law is saying? Can judiciary go against what the law or legal provisions are saying? Yes or no? Yes? And what's the use of laws then? Okay. Mostly judiciary sticks to the laws. But that's where the core role of judiciary comes into picture. They go for checking the intentions. They go for checking whether the law is making right justice or not. So there is one article in the Constitution, Article 142. Okay, here have you mentioned? Yes, here, Article 142. Under this article, court has got this power that if they want to do complete justice, for that, if it requires for them to even go against what the law is saying, They can do that. They can give any order. Court can give any order, even if it is against the law that is already present, still they can do that. To bring what? This complete justice. Okay. So this 142 article, this remains in news many a times. Okay. Lastly, I remember there was this Ayodhya case which was very controversial. There also court had used this article 142. Here also we see article 142 being used by the court. Okay. Now do you think this was done in the right manner or it was wrong? What's your opinion? Is court misusing the provision of constitution or they are using it rightly? Especially in this case. Good or bad? Simple. Whatever court did, good or bad? Good only. Why you're overthinking on that? It's good. Yes, your opinion matters. Okay. Now, court has also talked about this Puttaswamy case, in which right to privacy was being discussed. Okay. So, right to privacy and right to dignity, which is part of Article 21. Article 21 although talks about right to life and personal liberty. But this is one of the rights, or this article has been interpreted many a times in a different manner. Every time Supreme Court comes up with different interpretation for Article 21. So one of that interpretation says it includes right to dignity also. It also includes right to privacy also. So court is trying to protect these rights, right to dignity and right to privacy of these couples or these people, or people who are in this adolescent age. Clear? That's what court is doing. And court has said this blanket criminalization is not a good thing. That's the line they have specifically used. Blanket criminalization. That means what you have done is, when you put this law, POCSO Act, and you said that any minor getting into any such sexual activity, then in that case it will be a crime. It's a blanket ban that you have put in. So everyone who involved in this activity becomes criminal. They are saying, look at the context. Without looking at the context, if you are going for this blanket criminalization, then you are going to make entire youth or all the population in this adolescent age, you have to call all of them criminals if you go for such thing. Okay? Any doubt on this? Issue with criminalizing adolescent relationships. Yes? Next, which article do you think is important? In editorials, maybe? Yes. US, just because US is there. Or there is something, some other term which seems quite important to you. Multilateralism. Right. US established and extinguished multilateralism. What do you understand by this term? What do you understand by this? US established multilateralism and US extinguished multilateralism. Means they created it and now they are destroying it. This is what writer is trying to say. Now last time I had discussed about this world order part, that after World War II there was this world order which was created, where we had two different superpowers and all. Now even that also US was very powerful. Whatever international order that was created, whether you talk about United Nations, because that was the time we created United Nations, right? That was led by USA. So this article, when he is saying that this multilateralism was established by USA, that's to some extent very true. Without USA, you could not build United Nations. You could not build WTO. You could not build those international organizations which run through some particular rules. Now, when we say multilateralism, what is multilateralism? Don't read this. I don't want textual thing. What do you understand by multilateralism? Huh? Multiple countries are involved? In what? Trading? Is it about trading only? Sorry, internal? Very good. So you're talking about security dimension. Okay. So we said these terms, unilateral, when one country is taking action on its own, like Trump, whatever Trump is doing right now, I'll put tariff whatever I want to, that is unilateral action. Or USA attacking Afghanistan, getting into one country without asking anyone, that is unilateral action, one country taking that action. So decision making, when the decision making is happening and only one country is involved, that will be unilateral. If two countries are involved, bilateral. If multiple countries are involved, multilateral, simple. Now here we are talking about decision making. Okay, now that could be about security, that could be about trade, that could be about health also. So WHO, who is taking care of the health dimension, that could be about environment also. So it could be about anything. So this is called multilateralism. Now it is clear that in the world, some countries will be very powerful, some countries will not be that powerful. So it is always in the interest of these not so powerful countries that in the world multilateralism is there. Otherwise, the one who is powerful, that country can take unilateral actions on his own, like America is doing right now, or China is doing sometimes. They can do it. But if it is, we have some kind of multilateral organization, we have something called United Nations. Now, if USA will go ahead with war on any country or not, and USA needs to get some permission from United Nations, then it will be a good thing, at least for not so powerful countries, right? Now, multilateralism is something countries like India support. We always support multilateralism, and we always supported decision making where all the countries are party to it. So United Nations, WTO, IMF, World Bank, all these are examples of multilateral institutions which are running at the international level. Okay. Now what is happening? Now we are in a situation of chaos. We said this thing, we are in a situation of chaos where this world order is changing. In this changing world order, right now, countries are not preferring going for multilateral organizations. For example, when this Kashmir issue was there, when we got independence, Jawaharlal Nehru went to World Bank, United Nations, went to United Nations to sort out this matter. Now this is a basic expectation that if there is any problem, let's solve it at the multilateral level. Ideally it is very good, right? Right now, what United States is doing, it is preferring either bilateralism or unilateralism and not multilateralism. USA is not interested in United Nations, not interested in WTO, nothing. Right? Even this Paris Agreement was there. They said we are not part of it now. So they are not interested in multilateralism. Reason being, other countries have become relatively powerful, especially China. Countries like China, they have become very influential and powerful. So now they have also got good control over these institutions. We saw that thing especially at the time of COVID-19. So when this WHO was supposed to give some data, take some data from China, take some action, we didn't see that happening. And it was being very clearly said, especially from US side, that this is happening because China has a lot of influence on WHO. So USA is saying, I don't want multilateralism. I created, I'll go. Now they are preferring this. Bilateralism, so let's say they want to have trade with any country. Now they are not interested in any trade deal which is done under WTO. They are not interested in that. In WTO, we could make trade negotiations. Then if there is any problem with the trade, we can go to WTO, file a case against that country. All these things were common. What the USA is doing? USA is not letting WTO work. Okay, there is this appellate chamber in WTO. They're not letting the appointment to that appeal chamber take place. So somehow they have stopped the working of WTO. So now if any kind of trade deal has to take place, you have to go directly and talk to USA. So bilateral trade deals, bilateral talks, that's where they are focusing on. And they are taking unilateral actions also, which we saw in terms of this Paris Agreement deal. Unilaterally, USA got out of it. All the countries came together and USA said, we are leaving. So this is the trend that we are observing, where countries are focusing just on their national interest right now, Okay, and here they are going for these things and not multilateralism. So multilateralism is reducing to a good extent, right? That's the reason we see United Nations not working properly right now. Yes, USA is party to Paris Agreement. They signed it, but now when Trump came, Trump on the day first he signed it like we will withdraw. Yes, because even the process is very lengthy. It's not like you just make a signature and it will be withdrawn. It takes a lot of time. Let's say 1 year time it will take for all the technicalities, all the procedures to take place, right? But see the stance of USA very clearly. They're very clear. We are going to do this thing. Okay. Now, because of this, as a result of this thing, first thing, all these global institutions, which are multilateral institutions, they have become very weak. I said WTO is not working. Even United Nations is not working. The core task of United Nations was to ensure that there should not be any world war in the world. There was World War I, there was World War II. It was United Nations' job. Earlier, before United Nations, we made something called League of Nations. That was not made in a good way. That's why World War II happened. Motive was the same. There should not be any world war. So we learned from the mistakes and then we made United Nations. And after United Nations formation, did we see any world war as such till now? No, there was no third world war. But right now we are in this situation wherein we are very close to world war. Right? Small wars, that's okay. United Nations, although tries to work on that, they will try to help out or sort it out. But world war did not happen. But right now, this United Nations itself isn't working or functioning properly. One of the reasons being, when United Nations was formed, this United Nations Security Council, it involved these 5 permanent members who are the major decision makers. These 5 countries, which are these 5 countries? US, China, Russia, France, UK, not Germany. Okay. Now at that time, these were the countries which were really powerful. Okay. After World War II, these were the countries which were really powerful. But if you see present day scenario in 2025, we don't see the same countries are as powerful as they were at that time. Okay. Britain does not have that relevance right now. France also doesn't have that relevance. Rather, India should be part of this United Nations Security Council. If you look at the size of our economy right now, we look at the economy size. That matters a lot in the international relations. Whoever is economically powerful and militarily powerful, that matters more. Okay, so because the structure does not involve right representation, the countries which were supposed to be part of it, they are not part of it. So somehow it's not working that properly. Are you getting the point? So these countries are weakening, these institutions are weakening. Global order, the global order, there is no order. Right now it is being said that there is only chaos, there is no order. Chaos is the new order. So we see wars taking place, trade wars taking place, countries going for policy of protectionism. Protectionism is they are trying to protect their industries, their domestic industries. They are not interested in free trade as such. Then global south, it is affected a lot because of these things. Because when multilateral institution is there, this global south, which involves very countries which are not so powerful, they get some say. In General Assembly, all the countries will be sitting, they will also be voting, they will also come up with some resolution. But when countries go for bilateral or unilateral talks, who will listen to these countries? Nobody. They're not so powerful. Nobody will listen to these countries. So if, let's say, there's one country called Vanuatu, just search on the map, it's a very small country. It is being said that within few years, this country will not exist because of climate change, this rising sea level. It's so small, a very small island country, and after some time, water level will increase and there won't be Vanuatu. Now, who will listen to Vanuatu? Even if they say, please protect us, who will protect? United Nations protect us, WTO, WHO protect us, nobody will come. That will happen. Okay, this global south is losing its bargaining power because multilateral institutions are not functioning. Then there is instability. in terms of trade, diplomacy, especially after Trump, this is increasing, we observe that. So what countries are doing right now, especially countries from global south, which includes India also, they are trying to change their foreign policy. They are trying to change it according to the current situation. So what all we should do, this is the article trying to talk about. First, we should focus and assert our strategic autonomy. That means don't do what these mighty countries want you to do. Let's say USA wants you to do something. Don't do that. Show your sovereignty, show your strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy means USA says don't buy oil from Russia. Don't listen, buy it. Okay, so that's what they're saying. Focus on your core interest and take actions, even if there is pressure. Then promote South-South cooperation, because these countries have to come together. Otherwise, individually they are powerless. If they come together, maybe they will have some power. So this South-South cooperation is needed. That is possible under this BRICS, ASEAN, SCO, etc., etc. Right? Third thing this article talks about is focus on self-reliance or Atmanirbharta. They are saying make India internally strong. If India internally becomes strong, if our economy grows, technologically we grow, militarily we modernize, we will be that strong player. So nobody, even in this chaos, we can ensure that our national interests are ensured. Nobody will go against it, or even if they go against it, we can protect it. Somebody attacks our ship, we can go and fight with them if we have capability. Smaller countries will not be able to do that. So the article is saying focus on this self-reliance. Make yourself powerful within. Domestically we are talking about. And then push for reforms in the global institutions. These institutions like United Nations, they are not functioning, right? They will only function when right representation is there. The countries which are really powerful at this present time, they should be part of United Nations Security Council, that is the decision-making power. Only then they will work, otherwise United Nations will become useless, it will not work. Maybe we'll have to make another institute altogether. This will not work for sure. Okay? So we should push for reform in the institute. Instead of like going for some other mechanisms, let's reform this institute, although this is not going to be very easy. Right? Reform is not that easy. So this is what this article is all about, this multilateralism. Any doubt? Yes, multilateralism. Any doubt about this idea? No? Yes? Nice. Next article. Contesting the future of forest governance. So they're talking about forest area. Now we have a lot of forest area. Since the colonial period, since the time Britishers were having their control over India, one thing that they used to do, they looked at forest land as something which has relevance in terms of economy. How much we can grab money out of this forest, because forest has got so many resources. How can we extract those resources? Let's say timber or any minor forest produce. How can we extract as much as possible? So they were looking at it from economic perspective only. Now in the forest, there were some people who used to live there. In the forest, let's say there is a scheduled tribe living in the forest region, or there are some people who are not even listed in these scheduled tribes, but they are living in the forest region since years. It's not like they have come just now. They are living there. Their entire livelihood, their life depends on forest. So whatever they eat, whatever they make, their entire life depends on the forest land. Now at the time of Britishers also, we saw Britishers looked at these people as some kind of encroachers or criminals, as if they have come to forest land and they have taken over the control of this land. They are illegally living in this area. So Britishers were looking at it as encroachers or criminals, right? So this is something we had to change, and we brought this act, Forest Rights Act, in the year 2006. Came very late. Now under this act, what we tried to do is, in these forest regions, the people who are living over here, those whose livelihood is dependent on forest and all, those are called forest dwellers. For them, we are trying to ensure that it is your right to stay there and it is your right to even conserve this forest. Look at these people's lifestyle. Whatever they do, even if they get many things from the forest, they did not destroy the forest, they even conserved it. So we expect the same thing, that when this forest has to be managed and we have to conserve this forest, it is the responsibility of these people, rather than giving this responsibility to the government, state government or central government. Because if you give this power to state government or central government, they'll behave in the same manner as this colonial government was doing, British government was doing, right? So the idea was, let's give this power to the Gram Sabha in that region. This Gram Sabha will involve all these people living in that area. Whenever we have to take any action in this forest, we have to manage this forest. Let's say we are coming up with any plan and we are making some changes in the forest. So it should be under Gram Sabha. They should have the power to decide what to do, what not to do. This was the core idea of this Forest Right Act of 2006. Now the problem is, in case of this Chhattisgarh, recently this controversy erupted simply because what they did, they said this responsibility lies with the State Forest Department. Chhattisgarh State Forest Department, they claim that we have this right. So this is going completely against this Forest Right Act. When they did this, after that there were so many protests in Chhattisgarh region, this forest region. After that they said, okay, this is not our side. Okay, this controversy came into picture just because of this one incident. Now there is one conflict which is happening because state government and central government, they also come up with some plans for the forest region. So they come up with one document which showcases long-term plan for managing forests. So there is a plan for, let's say, the next 10 years. They'll say how much timber we can extract from this, what is the value of this, what kind of produce we can get from these regions. Everything is calculated, and again they look at things from economic perspective. From the central government side also, you get some kind of working plan which comes up. But this article is saying all these plans of state government or central government, all these are going against the provisions of this Forest Rights Act, and this act is more important, which gives importance to these forest dwellers, which gives powers to these forest dwellers. Okay, that's it. Any doubt? No? So that's all about the articles from today's newspaper. Please ask if you have any doubt.